you're a Wolfwalker. There's two of us now.
Wolfwalkers, rated PG, exclusively on Apple TV+.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Awards Watch Oscar podcast. This is, if you're watching it this way, a video podcast, which is really different for me. I'm usually just behind the scenes. I'm not showing myself, and we're just having a conversation, but not today because I have some really cool special guests. I have the Oscar expert and brother bro. Hi, boys.
Good evening. Good evening.
Oh, that's right. You guys are good evening. That's your
all the time. Doesn't matter when.
Plate. Yes. How you doing?
Claim to fame. We're doing well. Doing pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm glad that we're kind of the wheels are down on the plane and we're at the runway. We're almost there.
Yeah, I'm ready for the finish line.
What a crazy, insane long season. And it's funny because it happens every year, and I'm sure you guys are reading and watching these too, all of the pieces that come out that are very carefully timed, because this is recording April 15th, so it's the first day of Oscar voting. There's only 5 days. It only goes through the 20th. And so, boy, the internet is just chock full of
hot takes.
Nomadland is bad. And
Nomadland one is
every movie is getting canceled with just Best Picture. There's a lot of that going on. What do you guys generally think of that kind of thing at this point in the campaign?
It's a little headache, and it can be headache inducing. Also, the Nomadland one came out like months ago, and it just resurfaced because they thought it'd be like clickable now. I mean, it's kind of just a part of the season in a way. It would be it's annoying to think that it might influence some people's opinions about like what they're reading, because obviously voters should just kind of go in with like their own clean conscience. I don't know. I usually try to pay it not too much mind. Like I'm not really retweeting them or like making response videos or anything like that. Yeah, I actually see more people responding to stuff. Like, so I don't even know what the source is. I'm like, oh, everybody's upset today. Like, I'm not sure why. So I don't really look at it very much. But I think, like the Nomadland Amazon thing, I honestly think it's a good thing to consider, but it's just being put through this thing where it's like Nomadland is a bad movie because of this portrayal of Amazon. But I think there's like a nuanced discussion to be had about the portrayal of Amazon, but it doesn't need to take this form of bashing the whole movie. So that's kind of the sad part to me. Like there could be some good discussions to be had, but they all come out and kind of almost like they're bad faith or almost like they're trying to take down the entire movie. But you could just have a conversation about it and everything will be okay. And you can still like the movie.
Yeah, or not. I mean, it's exactly that. And what do you guys think of the yearly anonymous Oscar ballots? Justin, what do you think about those?
I mean, they're really fun. I love seeing them come out, and like even though I know they're sort of small sample size, they shouldn't have too much bearing. I do start like freaking out over it. I'm like, oh my God, they're not putting this person, and I have to get a little grip on myself. But he like famously really looked at those last year, and it factored into his switch to Parasite. So he stands by like they're not useless. I don't really know. I haven't seen enough years with them to know if they're useless, but I charted them the year before, and like they were going for Roma more than Green Book, but it looked competitive. Like it's not something that I think you should only base your prediction on, but like, yeah, last year it was very overwhelming that nobody was picking 1917. And this year I'm not going to change any of my predictions. Like the only thing I'm looking out for is if Hopkins is like getting a lot of love and Boseman's not getting a lot of votes, which is out of the 4 that we've had so far is the case. But
yeah,
it's just interesting to see how people are making up their minds too. They also those people tend to have a lot of hot takes. Yeah.
Yes, and part of that too is that whether no matter what the outlet is, they're being very selective, and they can cherry pick exactly the bits and pieces that they want to publish to get the reaction that they want to. And even with Parasite, I think there's a certain element of pundits that want to help shape the race instead of just comment on it. I think it happens all the time. And then on the other side, yeah, you're going to get a headline of this publicist never even logged on to the Academy website. And you're going to get people to get angry about that and angry at this publicist for not watching X movie or whatever it is. And it's kind of a yearly tradition now. I don't put very much stock into any of them. Generally, I don't. I know there are people that have tabulated and have like spreadsheets going of here's how many Carey Mulligan responses.
I'm tallying them.
I'm sure you are, and I think there's, from an academic perspective, it's pretty great. It's kind of fun to do that.
Yeah, someone's got to do it.
Yeah, and statistically, it's pretty fun to do that as well. But I don't think I'm going to let any of it change or impact my predictions, which, like I said before we start recording, it's the 15th of April. It's the first day of Oscar voting. I'm breaking my final predictions into 2 weeks. So this first week has all been 1 or 2 or 3 sets of predictions a day. And then next week, because I'm waiting for, ACE and for ASC before I do make those finals in those categories. So next week's going to be a madhouse, crazy every day of all the big stuff. But today we are going to talk about all 23 categories. We don't have to spend a whole lot of time on each of them, but I think it would be good to kind of get our perspectives on why we think something is ahead. And let's start with the shorts. I don't know how many of you guys have seen of the 3 categories.
I've seen like 4 or 5. I tried to watch some of the ones that were the front runners, all the ones that I could find. I saw out of like the top 2s that I was considering.
Yeah. I did I've seen all of the animated and all of the live action, and then working my way through the documentaries, which are longer than a lot usually are. And I always wonder if that is an impact.
I actually,
some of
when I was pouring through like to predict the nominees, I saw some people saying like length actually does matter. Like I remember this one doc called Zama was like 10 minutes long, and it was like #1 on Gold Derby, and it wasn't nominated. And it did factor into me not predicting Abortion Helpline actually. But and it worked, and maybe it's true, but also the Speed Keepers wasn't nominated. There's no perfect rule.
There is no perfect rule, exactly, and especially with the shorts. But let's start with live action, and we've got White Eye, Feeling Through, The President, A Letter Room, and Two Distant Strangers. Interesting about a lot of these shorts for me is, and where I start really looking at, is who's behind them, what's the accessibility of them. So there's a lot that are available on Netflix. There's a lot that have, big stars in them, which isn't always the key factor. It might get them seen a little bit more, but it's not always the key factor. And length, and then obviously content. So I just finished all of the live actions last night, and Present won the BAFTA, which when I was doing my BAFTA predictions was kind of an easy prediction to make to win there because it was the only Oscar nominated one. And I kind of defaulted to that. What are you guys thinking, each of you, for live action short?
I was kind of between The Letter Room because like the star power, and Two Distant Strangers because it's, Netflix and it's kind of explosive. I did watch that one. I wasn't really a fan, but I still think it might have a really good shot at winning. The Letter Room, you're saying accessibility. Like, I wonder how much that factors into it, because I looked up that movie to watch and I had to pay like $6 to watch it. And I was like, I will not do that. So when deciding between those two, one has star power, one has visibility, if you're deciding between those two. I went with Two Distant Strangers. I could see it being like, I remember Skin winning. I didn't see Skin, but people said that that was like some sort of like bad messaging or like an annoying take on like racial relations. And I think that Two Distant Strangers is kind of that.
I don't disagree with you at all. I'm kind of in that too. I'm going to predict Two Distant Strangers to win. It has theme, and subject elements that are enough to kind of put it through, and it has the visibility. Although I think there's almost anything on there is pretty cool. White Eye is great. It's a single shot take film, and it's like 20 something minutes long. It's pretty cool. And almost all of them are very message heavy films too. So it's not like there are any, there are no real trifles like last year or the year before, the one about, the neighbors looking at the other neighbor's apartment, which was kind of silly and a little bit easy. And there's not a lot of that. All of these, deal with some pretty heavy issues. Justin, what do you think?
I really haven't done my homework on these too much, so I'm gonna leave it to Oscar expert because he's been like studying and reading up. I have just ignored them, to be honest. I do think that every movie seems to have a bit of a case. Like White Eye, like you're saying, has like the stylistic thing, and The Present, people seem to really enjoy, and Feeling Through also seems like it sort of has an Oscar baity appeal. So I think it's a pretty wide open. But is The Letter Room, like, since you've seen it, I'm curious, is it like, I heard that it's maybe not like the most loved, but it's like pretty solid and like maybe entertaining, and
it would be maybe my least favorite of the 5.
Okay.
Maybe. But I'm not a voter, so I don't know.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's fine. I think the other ones are better. They all exist in the same like time, about 20 minutes or so. So there's not a big variance in terms of commitment. But yeah, race and ethnic relations are a big part of a lot of these. In almost all of them, actually, in some form they are. So in that way, they kind of cancel each other out in terms of being like, here's the one about this. You just have to decide which one, you feel is going to hit you the most. And, something that's white officer and black man in this age and era, I have to imagine is going to have a bit of a leg above others, regardless of its content.
And a little star power too on that one.
A little bit. All right, gosh, wow, that was already a lot on a short category that I was not really expecting to. So let's kind of go through then documentary. We've got Hunger Ward, A Concerto is Conversation, Colette, Do Not Split, and Love Song for Latasha. Really wide range here, both of length and content, and again, accessibility. I'm going with Hunger Ward, which is actually the longest. And that's that. What do you think?
I've seen Love Song for Latasha and A Concerto and parts of Colette. I was going to go for Love Song for Latasha, although I saw your last predictions. You had that at 5, and it was like #1 on Gold Derby or something. I wanted to ask you about that. Like, what about that? It makes you confident that's not winning?
It's not. I'm not that confident. And I haven't done my final. I think my finals for shorts are going to come out tomorrow, Friday the 16th, and it could be a different place. And I think it probably will be. I think I might have Do Not Split in last place. Colette has a Holocaust element of it, and I hate, to say, that you can't discount that, but you can't discount that. True. There's something strange about Hunger Ward and keeping it as a leader for me is that, and not to sound dismissive, but the issue of world hunger feels not like a contemporary issue the way that it did, like when I was growing up. It is, but it's not the same like big cause that it was when I was growing up. There are many of other civil rights issues and things around the world that have taken its place. So I'm dubious about my choice, if that's my choice at all. I don't know.
Yeah.
Love song. I don't know. I had to rank them at some point before I saw them. Concerto feels like super neat, cool, accessible, and the least confrontational, which I think benefits it.
Yeah, that one I was considering too. And I think it might not be like the most impactful one. Like I just imagine like, you know, I think the other one that I've seen, Love Song for LaTasha, was just more impactful, but you're right, it is light. And there's a little pat on the back moment there for like the Green Book win, even though it's very short, that I think some people think that's going to help propel it too. I'm not too confident about any of these categories. I don't think anyone can be, but
that's the thing. When you're talking about the shorts, you're talking about realistically a very small group of people of the 10,000 that are going to actually vote. I imagine many people skip those categories even for voting because they just haven't seen it and they don't have anything, unless they're the kind of weird people that are be like, I like this title and I'm going to click that. I hope
that probably happens.
It probably does. I hope not, but it probably does. It probably does. Let's move to animated, which is a really wacky group. I think really there's only two possibilities here. Because the other three are just too esoteric. I'm glad they're nominated, and that's like Yes People. Actually, no, I'm not glad that's nominated. It's a terrible movie. And Opera, which is super cool. There's like a Don Hertzfeld kind of neat weirdness to it. It's gorgeous and cool. I thought Genius Loki was really, really cool too. Watercolor look, and it was pretty great. Burrow feels like an easy sort of basic winner in this category, the kind that we've seen before. But I think I'm going to actually do If Anything Happens, I Love You.
Yeah, that's what I'm going for. I watched that. I watched If Anything Happens and Burrow because I agree that they're the two that seem like they can win. And, you know, there's obviously a case to be made for Burrow because it's like that cute, like animal movie. But at the same time, if they're watching the movies, like I just can't imagine you're going to vote for like that little like 6-minute thing over like the one that's trying to like knock tears out of you, you know, like, and it's also a little more like hot button topic.
It really did. It was, I stormed through a bunch of these yesterday. And so I watched all of the animated, and the first half of If Anything Happens, I Love You, first half, I was in absolute tears. It was incredible until it got to like the whole reason that that things happened. And then I knew that's what it was going to be. It wasn't like too much of a surprise, but once it hit that moment, it became much less impactful. But I think it will be the opposite for a lot of voters, and they'll love it. And it has Laura Dern behind it, so she promoted it and tweeted about it. I just feel like that's enough star power. She just has, you know, a lot of star power within the Academy.
Who does the director?
Laura Dern.
Laura Dern, as a producer.
Oh, did she voice? Wait, no, there's no voice work. Wait, what?
Oh. No.
She produced it. I didn't know that.
Producer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go. I mean, that's something.
Yeah. So I think
I remember.
I think it's enough.
I remember last year, Matthew Cherry, that's who did Hair Love, right? Like he was all over Twitter with that. People really liked him, and that probably helped that movie too.
Yeah. Well, that movie had a great narrative too, where he, had tweeted like in 2012, "I'm going to win an Oscar one day." And, and I mean, the whole narrative of that was great as a Kickstarter. I was like one of the first 100 people to pitch in money for it. I loved the idea, and I really loved him as a filmmaker. And I'm like, let's do this. And there you go. So yeah narratives can be extremely impactful when you have a category like the shorts that, people don't pay that much attention to.
Yeah.
All right, let's get out of the shorts. Let's get out to the other category.
Back in, Justin. Yeah. Oh, you guys are still here? Oh, great.
Let's do international feature film. I think for most of it, it's probably an easy choice.
Pretty easy.
Yeah.
The one with the director nomination.
You think? I think even without that, it would still be the front runner.
Yeah.
Easily.
It beat Minari at BAFTA. So
obviously talking about another round, and it probably goes without saying that if Minari has not been in the same categories and places as it was, that another round would have all the precursors at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree?
I agree with that too.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
And I think in the older era of voting in this category, when it was only the branch, I would bet almost anything that Quo Vadis Aida would be the winner over another round.
In an older era?
Yes. In the era where like Amelie and Pan's Labyrinth both lost.
Yeah.
In that
I also see that movie as being disadvantaged by the fact that it didn't release. So it didn't really get it, like another round already had that Oscar on lock. And then it came out. Like kind of the similar situation. I actually forget, but when Portrait of a Lady on Fire was released, but I mean that was competing with Parasite, but it didn't have enough time to build a narrative that it's like one of the best movies of the year and it's going to win the foreign film Oscar.
Well, it wasn't
obviously
eligible.
Well, that was their fault though. They like they took it out of the race. France took it their own gem out of the race. So you know, but I mean, obviously it had Parasite. It couldn't have been running up against a more juggernaut foreign film nominee. But yeah, I agree. I think it's pretty easy. Another round's going to win.
That's kind of like what happens with this category every year, though, is that something gets kind of christened early enough, and then it becomes almost impossible to overtake it in a way that's
typically
different than other categories.
Yeah. When's the last time a movie won this category without a Cannes premiere? That's
that's the funny thing too. If Cannes had been normal, this absolutely would have played there and would have had wins exactly the same way that Cold War did, which is one of the things that made it so easy for people to pick Pawlowski as a director nominee. Yeah, so I followed that path when I made my prediction for director, because it was going to be the same. In a normal year, it would have been exactly the same, and another round would have either won director or Grand Prix or the Palm, or Mads would have won again. So something would have
prediction. It's a it was a legendary prediction, actually.
I'm telling you, I'm gonna feed off of that like royalties until the day I die. I swear to God. Let's go to documentary, which I think is more fascinating a category than it had any right to be, because we had what we thought was like one or two movies that was probably going to be the winner, and then a third just absolutely took over, if you think that it did. And so we have The Mole Agent, Crip Camp Collective, Time, and My Octopus Teacher. And Time is by far the biggest critical hit of any documentary from last year. It won New York and LA and National Society of Film Critics and NBR. It steamrolled. And then Dick Johnson Is Dead won Critics' Choice, but then wasn't Oscar nominated. And Collective has 2 nominations, foreign language and documentary, like Honeyland did. And that both of those movies have the timely nature that none of the other ones really do, which sort of put them in the position of being like, here's the important doc that's going to win. And then out of nowhere, My Octopus Teacher wins PGA, DGA, and all of a sudden is everywhere there. BAFTA. I mean, it's
not DGA though, right? That was the Truffle Hunters.
No, not DGA. Yeah, PGA, BAFTA.
BAFTA.
Yes. DGA was Truffle Hunters, which should have been nominated.
Yeah.
No.
So I mean, for me, it's a disappointment that Time's not winning, but I think even if we didn't have Octopus Teacher, I think even Crip Camp would have a stronger case than Time. That's actually another movie that has a really good, not really a hot button topic, but a very relevant, important topic, and is also just, a really good movie, and will make you cry. But Time, I feel like will lose too many people to win. I feel like it's not so much of like an audience award documentary, even though I love it. So I don't even know if without Octopus Teacher, Time would be winning. And Collective's a little bit of the same way, which is why something like Crip Camp and Octopus Teacher has a better case, in my opinion. And Octopus Teacher is kind of a no-brainer when you think about the fact that it won BAFTA and PGA, to me, at this point.
Yeah, it feels like this year's Free Solo in a way. It's just, a documentary a lot of people can get behind, and like, it's very popular too. Like, and it's on Netflix, and I've seen a lot of love for it around, and I just can definitely see it winning.
Yeah, I think the two main themes of anything from this last year has been, something that's super timely and something that's very empathetic. And some films do both. And there's a lot of that in Best Picture are incredibly empathetic films. And My Octopus Teacher definitely has that in spades. It's the one that does that. It just still strikes me as so strange that this is where it is now, because it is a nature documentary. We see hundreds of them a year that never, push their way through into Oscar contention. Even getting a nomination was a humongous feat, because this is not the kind of movie that gets in. And this branch is super, super picky. And they pick populist stuff.
I think that is interesting about it, the fact that it is a nature documentary, but it does transcend it in some ways. It has a really powerful narrative that other nature documentaries don't have. So I think it transcended it, and that's why it's winning awards. And that's to the films. I mean, that's because it's a very good film, I think.
It is. And I know people that don't like it, and I'm just like, well, who hurt you as a child? Because
I know, how do you not? What?
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's so much about, not just about his relationship with this animal, but also with his son and what he can pass down. And it just becomes, something pretty spectacular. So it's,
it's just such a love story that other nature documentaries are not love stories, but that's what this one was. The narrative and the structure and everything about it. So
absolutely. Yeah. And it'll be Netflix's third win in this category in 4 years.
Wow.
If it
I didn't
wins.
think about that. Dang.
No.
Yeah.
There's, and a lot of what we're talking about with some of these films are Netflix films. It's not, just Mank and Ma Rainey and Chicago 7. It's all of these other categories and areas that they are cementing domination in now.
Yep. It counts as a nomination. It counts towards their tally.
It absolutely does.
A lot of streaming platforms try to get in through that category, I feel like, nowadays.
Yeah, and
they might.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say they might even win every short film.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely possible. And the way that the rules were loosened and relaxed this year kind of just allowed that to happen, because everything became a little bit gray of like what was going to be eligible and what was not. And we'll see what happens next year when that rule bounces back. Let's see. Let's go to animated feature, where we have Soul, Wolfwalkers, Onward, Over the Moon, and a Shaun the Sheep movie.
Easy.
Armageddon. Yeah.
Yeah, Farmageddon, right?
Right? Yes. There's the 500 points on Gold Derby or whatever betting is there.
Buy a house with that money.
You really, really could. Monopoly house, but yes. Yeah, I mean, this is pretty clearly one of the easiest calls, I think, of the night.
There's no way it's not Soul.
It hasn't lost anything. And, I think some of us were toying with the idea that Toy Story 4 could lose last year. And no, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I think we'd have to have a year without a Pixar film for something else to be able to get in. And they got
Spider-Verse. That was the rare time when it actually happened. Spider-Verse versus Incredibles 2.
Oh, that's right.
Though Incredibles 2 wasn't that strong, but it did happen, and that was cool. That was really cool that happened.
Yeah. And then that's true. Gosh, I mean, I didn't forget about Spider-Man winning, but I forgot that it was
Right. Up against
Incredibles 2.
Yeah.
Well, all right. So we're all picking Shaun of the Sheep, and we can lock those down.
Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect. It's on record now, so good job. Good luck.
It's
to
payback
all
for
of
not
us.
giving the first one the Oscar, which we all know we're bitter about.
Yeah. Let's talk about visual effects. Obviously, I think we're looking at only Tenet and Midnight Sky as
Yeah.
realistic winners here, and I had gone back and forth between the two, and was waiting for Visual Effects Society and BAFTA to tell us what they needed to, and yeah,
They went different ways.
they went different ways, but in the way that helps me keep Tenet at
Exactly.
Yeah. That's exactly what we went through, the journey that we took to get here. And I think I am at Tenet right now. So
yeah,
it could be close though.
It might be, One and Only Ivan got their little VES win, and they're the only one nominated at the Annie Awards, for their specific category. So, there's some maybes there, but they're very small ones.
I think the only factor working against Tenet is that it's like not in the screening room, but at the same time, the BAFTAs had the same issue and they still went with it. So that was pretty affirming.
And you've got that production design nomination. So
Yep.
that does
Yeah, that's a good stat.
It is a really good stat. And, stats are there until they're not. We're going to see a whole bunch of them fall this year.
Yep.
But they're there until they aren't. So let's take a look at sound, which is a single category again for the first time in many, 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 many years. I really wish it wasn't. I wish there were two categories. I think we might have seen Trial or Nomadland in sound mixing if that was the case.
Yeah.
Maybe. But I don't know.
Maybe.
But this one's
I'm not a fan of this choice to combine these. So.
Okay. I'm not a sound person, so I'm just curious how they feel about it. I don't really know if I mind.
Some of them
not.
sounded like they were on board with it. I have mixed feelings on it, but I mean, I liked knowing the distinction. Like I liked learning about the distinction when there were two categories. And obviously they are completely different jobs, but
it became very muddled though when Bohemian Rhapsody won sound editing.
Yeah, that showed that they didn't know.
That people don't understand anyway.
So,
yeah, that was a big and I guess enough reason to do it. And so I think the rule is 6 people can win. You can, pick and choose who gets that, which certainly means that some people are going to be left out that normally would have been nominated if the categories were split. Because I think they can have like 4+ nominees in each. So now that's 6 maximum. And I'd be willing to bet that we're all predicting the same film to win here.
Yeah, this is really easy.
Yeah.
And it's Sound of Metal.
Sound of Metal.
It'd probably win both if it were 2 categories anyway.
Yeah, I mean it's a movie whose entire existence is about sound and sound design, and
it's a great win.
It's a great,
as long as it wins.
If as we talk about films that are like the major frontrunners that we don't feel have a chance to lose, it's probably then good to look at what we think is our number 2, and maybe see if there is a path for it. What's the number 2 with sound? Is it Greyhound, Soul, Mank, News of the World? It's hard to even figure out what the number 2 is.
Yep.
Kind of
I haven't even thought about it.
Yeah. Well,
I would say
I thought
would lean
about it
towards
so
Mank.
that I could see a spoiler if there is one. But
Yeah.
I'd say Soul, I guess. I don't know.
Really?
Just I guess it stands out a little more than the others. I don't see Mank
I think
winning.
Mank would. I think Mank might have it, but it's so hard to tell without any precursors because Sound of Metal's sweeping.
Yeah, we are talking about this and doing predictions before the Cinema Audio Society or the Motion Picture Sound Editors do their awards, which are next week or this weekend. So But yeah, I think it's good that we feel like we have a front runner enough that we don't need those. That'll just help and secure those predictions.
It'll secure it. Yep.
Yeah. I do think that there is something to Mank in the decision to do that mono sound recording, and it sounds like an old film and has like a weird sort of tinny little bit of echo to it, and I think there's something to that. But
Yeah.
you know, for a movie that suffered at Oscar nominations and BAFTA, it's hard to see how that could really happen. No to that. Ooh, let's do original song, because I think this is actually a super competitive year. We don't have a real front runner in any way. I think there's an argument for pretty much any of them at this point. So we have Hear My Voice from Trial of Chicago 7, Fight for You from Judas and the Black Messiah, Speak Now from One Night in Miami, Husavik from Eurovision Song Contest, and IOC, Scene from the Life Ahead. And as any of us that follows this knows, this is Diane Warren's 12th nomination. It's her 4th in a row, 4 years in a row. Last time that happened, only time that happened, was a Randy Newman, and he won on that 4th. So,
well, there you go. Is that your case for your pick?
When I did my original song predictions, and because I had like Husavik was my #1 the week before last, yeah, I started doing my dive downs in history and looking at people that had gotten multiple nominations before and really popular with the branch, but not popular with the membership at large, which Randy Newman was for a really, really long time. I think he got in on his 9th nomination, something like that. It's tough. She campaigns every year. She's really funny about it. She's really funny about her losses, even though she really, really, really wants to win.
She's not shy about it.
Not at all. And the Academy does like that. They do like seeing that you want to win. So there's an appeal to that. But obviously they, said no to her 11 times before with the same amount of eagerness to win. Speak Now, I feel like could be an easy pick, being, a Best Picture nominee. And Leslie Odom Jr. has been everywhere, absolutely everywhere in the last week going into the voting right now. What do you guys think?
I'm going with Speak Now, but like I think there's a case for Husavik and Yossi. I also just kind of wonder, like, I know that we all know Diane Warren's overdue, but as a songwriter, like, how many of the Academy members are going to factor that in? There will probably be some, but on the other hand, Leslie Odom Jr. is nominated. One of the and it has the Critics' Choice, which is pretty good at predicting that category. It's like slightly better than the Golden Globes, I think, but the Golden Globes have also picked stuff that went on to win the Oscar without the Critics' Choice Award, so they could both. There's a good case for both of them. I'm just gonna go Speak Now. Like I usually go safe if I don't have a strong reason to think it's something else. Yeah, this one's interesting. There could be an upset here. I'm looking at the betting odds, and Speak Now is only -200. So, yeah, it means it's pretty up in the air. So I would just go with that to be safe, but I don't really know how to make a strong case. I would just be speculating if I said for whatever I think. What's your pick here?
So I did go with IOC, and Husavik is my #2, and Speak Now is my #3.
Oh,
I don't have a lot of faith in that, but part of my reasoning for it is because 3 of the songs, Fight for You, Speak Now, Hear My Voice, are all right in the exact same place of theme and subject. And in a way are really too similar. They're too alike. And Husavik, as we know, is the only song of the 5 that's in the film. All the other 4 are in-credit songs. It's the only song that is actually an integral part of the movie. It's the climax. It's the whole reason the movie exists, is that song. It's also an absolutely beautiful song, and subjectively, I think it's the best song by far. IOC is a really beautiful song as well, from a very, very, very popular singer. Non-English language songs don't do great here. The last one that won was Motorcycle Diaries. It's 2004. So there's precedent, but it's not like a really common thing. But I don't know. I think it could go. I think there is a case for every single one of these, really. They've all won at least one type of precursor, because there's quite a few for songs. There's, the lyricists and composers and Hollywood Music and Media. There's all kinds of things. So each has won one thing at least. But yeah, it's going to be Globe versus Critics' Choice probably.
Yeah, I agree that 3 out of the 5 or maybe 4 are just there to get to pick up an extra Oscar nomination for the film. Like they just throw it in at the end of the credits, and it's what you think it is. It's like it's gonna have a good message, and it's gonna make you want to stand up and feel good and whatever. I didn't really listen to all of them. Maybe Judas isn't like that, because that would be kind of unfitting.
It is.
Okay, wow.
It's exactly what you just said.
Yeah, I mean they're kind of like factory made for the nomination.
Rah.
Yeah. So that could go against it. I don't know. We'll see.
I did find the Speak Now to be kind of memorable though. Like, the hook does like resonate with like the message of the movie pretty well. So whereas like Trial of Chicago 7, like I don't care about, like I didn't remember that song after the movie happened. I wasn't like sitting through the credits for that one.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I really feel like it's a 3-way race, and any of those 3 will make perfect sense as a winner.
Yeah, I agree. I wonder it has a strong case to be made for it, but it's also like, does the Academy even want to do they want to even think about that movie? Like it's so far from what they go for. But it's a song,
but they don't really have to think about the movie. They just have to listen to the song if that's enough.
Yeah, true.
If it's enough for them. And
that'll be interesting. Yeah.
Let's check out original score, which I think is also one of the categories that feels very, 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 very locked in.
Yeah.
Because Trent Reznor, Atticus Ross, and John Batiste for Soul have won absolutely everything.
Absolutely everything.
Tiny precursor to the biggest, as well as the overwhelming critics hit of the season. It's just an absolute steamroll. So
yeah. There's no reason to doubt that.
There really isn't. What would your number 2 be then?
Oh man.
Mine is Minari.
Maybe at this point. Yeah. People are really loving that score.
I don't know. I think others would say it's Mank, but I don't know if like that score
Mank doesn't have enough of anything to grab onto, I think.
I mean, it's distinct in like the type of score that it is, but right. I don't know if it's like people's favorite. Minari is
I think it would be Minari. I agree.
Gorgeous, so I think maybe it would be Minari. I would love to see it.
It did miss the Golden Globe nomination, where Mank didn't, and News of the World didn't, but
Minari missed all the Golden Globe nominations and including who might win the Oscar. Yo Jung-yoon.
I'm telling you. They did that movie dirty.
Yeah. So I'm not going to count it. I'm just going to not count it.
I do remember predicting that they'd give it nothing but foreign film.
Yeah, that's true.
But I also thought it wasn't going to be so strong elsewhere. So
yeah, it was hard. I think a lot of people brought a lot of the bad will from The Farewell into Minari, and thankfully it did not turn out the same way.
Yeah.
Let's look at makeup and hairstyling, which did seem sort of like a race a month ago, maybe. Not so much anymore. No. We've got Emma, Mank, Hillbilly Elegy, Pinocchio, and Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Ma Rainey's Black Bottom has won everything. BAFTA, Critics' Choice, both of its Muon nominations, which is Makeup and Hairstylist Guild. Pinocchio won the Makeup and Hairstylists Guild for special effects makeup, obviously, as it should. But I don't see how Ma Rainey loses here.
Yeah, I think one of the anonymous ballots said it best when they were like, "Well, I haven't seen Pinocchio, but Ma Rainey, you know, they made that really was effective in changing the performance." Like that's exactly what it is. I think. I mean, no one's seen Pinocchio. I'm probably not gonna watch it just to vote in makeup. And Ma Rainey is out there enough that you notice it, and that's why it's winning. And before I thought, you know, maybe you need prosthetics to at the forefront of your film to win this, but apparently you don't even need that. Like just whatever transforms your lead, if that's very strong, then you're going to win makeup.
Well, there are some prosthetics in Ma Rainey.
Oh, there are?
Yeah, Viola Davis does wear padding, teeth. So she does have some.
Yeah, some teeth, but like below the neck, basically, for the padding.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Because she gained weight as well.
No fake nose. No fake nose.
She did not need to do
Dallas Buyers Club.
Yeah, she didn't
have any of that stuff either, and
it's like a transformation award in a way, really.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I love it. It's going to be a historical win because me and Neil and Jamaica Wilson are the first Black people even nominated in this category.
Really?
I did not know that.
Wow.
First ever. So they will be the first to win too. It's crazy. But here we are.
That'll be great.
Yeah. But yeah, this is a runaway win. And I think we can talk about what that means later on, because it's going to be really interesting to see how Ma Rainey plays out as
That's
a
the question. How many
nominee.
How many wins?
How many can
is it going to get?
It's the biggest question I have. It keeps me up at night.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it all the time, and we're going to get to these categories that I haven't released official predictions yet. And I'm going to be going, I don't know yet, guys. So
yeah,
we'll never know.
Speaking of Ma Rainey, let's go to costume design, where we can.
This is the quick one.
Pinocchio, Mulan, Mank, Emma, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, and again, a sweeper for Ma Rainey here.
Yep.
Yeah, a lot of these categories are pretty easy this year, below the line.
Yep.
It's kind of how it always is, though.
No, it's not always this easy, I don't think.
Yeah, maybe.
But we'll see if there
maybe
are upsets.
Maybe. It's true.
Who do you see as the potential upset for Ma Rainey?
I'd probably say Mank is number 2.
Yeah, I agree.
It's winning production design. Had a costume party.
Yes. We're going to get to production design and a really wild bit of history and statistic there. I have Emma at number 2, just as Alexandra Byrne is a previous winner.
Oh, right. Yeah, maybe that.
Mank might make more sense because costume design, production design often go hand in hand. Not always, but they do often. And let's move into production design, and then I can tell you about this fun little bit of history that's going to maybe kind of make you question your predictions a bit. So for production design, we've got Tenet, The Father, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, News of the World, and Mank. Mank has won everything and was the overwhelming critics pick for groups that did production design. I'm assuming we're all picking Mank to win.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, very, very overwhelming.
Let's hear the thing. The fun stat.
Wait, I have a guess. Is it that it almost never happens where a movie wins only production design?
It is that, but let me pull up my piece for that. Okay, yeah. So I had previously likened, which other people had too, Mank to Lincoln or even Once Upon a Time in Hollywood last year. You know, movies that had more than 10 nominations or 10 or more nominations, and kind of didn't do very well and won production design. But those two movies had won an acting award as well. So you'd have to go to 2007 Sweeney Todd to find a movie that only won production design, but wasn't Best Picture nominated. So in my looking back, the only film, or the last film to be Best Picture nominated and then only win production design was Julius Caesar from 1953.
Wow.
It's been 70 years.
And but also consider that if there were 5 nominees, I don't think Mank would have been in there.
Oh, really? I definitely think it would have.
Really? I think that even with the screenplay editing miss, I think I feel more passion for like Minari, Promising Young Woman, even like Sound of Metal and Judas had like a lot of, I don't know, or The Father.
Yeah, I
They had
wouldn't
good
have
nominations,
predicted.
too.
I think Mank would have not gotten nominated too, if it was 5.
I think it probably would have, because I don't know. I think it would have. But
That'd be
regardless,
interesting.
The screenplay snub.
We'll never know. I would love to
regardless,
have
yeah.
the stats on the order, but anyway.
I would too.
But-
I want numbers. I always want numbers. I
need
keep
more
saying
data.
that. Once like every nominee has died, they should be able to just release numbers. So start releasing like the first
Yeah.
10 years of the
Yeah.
Oscars, because nobody's going to.
There you go.
Nobody's feelings are going to get hurt.
We need to get one of us
Exactly.
like infiltrating the ballot counting, and that will
And
be
leak
how
the
we really
information.
start to gather data on the Oscars.
And they'll somehow not find out that it's us leaking it.
Exactly.
They just won't know.
It would be great to have somebody on the inside of PricewaterhouseCoopers, but yeah, we'd get found out really quick. Super.
Yeah, I'm very confident predicting a stat break in this category though.
Yep. I am too. It would be almost insane for Mank to lose, and the reason is because I think number 2 is Ma Rainey's Black Bottom,
Yeah, I think so.
and we're going to keep running into that conversation of how many can Ma Rainey win without a Best Picture nomination
Yeah.
in this era.
Mm-hmm.
It's wild. It's wild. So, all right, well, cool. Then we can move on. Wow, another category that's like so difficult to predict: cinematography.
Who knows?
What's possibly going to win here?
Yeah.
I can't even imagine.
Chicago
we've
7
got-
really might surprise in this category, I
Pull
think.
it off. Yes, with the most basic cinematography of all the nominees. And this was actually a mostly pretty easy category to predict, because there were so many that were going to be first timers, and really only Pete and Papa Michael was the chance to return.
Wow,
so
only him.
predicting Trial to get in here was a pretty easy, even if it's not a very typical type of film that gets in. So
Yeah, one of the weakest nominees in the category
yeah,
in a while, I think.
in a very long while, especially when you have Minari like sitting right there. But
Yeah, that would have been better.
I digress. So I guess we are all predicting Nomadland.
Yep.
Mhm.
No Man Land it is.
The American Society of Cinematographers is this weekend. I assume they will go for that as well. I would be shocked if they did not.
Mhm.
Although they nominated Cherry, so what the fuck did they know?
Yeah, that'd be hilarious if they gave the cherry. They should do it just for the meme.
I want them to, and I want the piece of the clip that they showed to be the Tom Holland's asshole. That's because that's clearly what clinched it the first time. So,
Oh, don't say clench in the same sentence.
yeah, I did that on purpose. Very on purpose. All right, yeah. So if we had a runner-up to Nomadland, I mean, I think Mank would probably be the safest.
Yeah, the black and white one.
Yeah. Even though they didn't shoot it in Academy ratio, which is what they should have done.
Or on film.
Or on film, something. Anyway.
Maybe a good
Sidebar,
one.
I am really excited about the Oscars being shot on film. I think that's going to be super cool.
Oh, is that a new thing this year? that they're
Yeah.
doing?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
Soderbergh he wants it to be like a movie and shoot it like a movie and have it look like a movie and not an award show.
Oh, that's cool.
Whoa,
Yeah.
I didn't even know
And he's
that.
such a champion of digital too, which is kind of interesting.
It is. The irony is delicious. So
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to film editing, which I think is contentious. I think we probably have the same prediction, but I don't know if it's a really easy one that we feel comfortable with.
Yeah, there's definitely a butt in this category.
There's a few
Like-
butts in this category.
A few.
It could go a few ways, I think.
Really?
I think so,
I
too.
mean, I think it's Trial versus Sound of Metal, personally, and I don't know what you think could be number 3, but I do think Trial still has a chance to win because Sound of Metal is such an unconventional pick for them. It's not a Cuddy movie, and you've needed to be a Cuddy movie for the past like decade or more, but the BAFTAs had the same exact situation. Mm-hmm. They don't really deviate from that kind of standard of giving it to a Cuddy movie, and they gave it to the Sound of Metal. So that's why I think it has the leg up over Trial of Chicago 7. Somehow it's breaking this trend.
But what about if ACE went with Trial? I feel like Trial makes so much sense that I would probably lean on any major precursor that gave it to Trial to predict it.
Is ACE about to happen?
I don't know when.
That's this weekend. Exactly. That's Saturday.
Yeah. So if I think whoever they gave it to,
but ACE,
that could be a tiebreaker.
They don't need to give it to a really Cuddy movie. They gave it to Parasite and Arrival. They don't actually need that as much.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to go with Sound of Metal, and then it's going to be just I have to predict Sound of Metal. But there could be an upset, and there have been upsets in the past where they didn't go with either of those bodies.
Yeah. Last year, Ford v Ferrari won this and sound and was Best Picture nominated, and that is obviously a movie that does have more cuts and is very editing dependent to ratchet up tension and excitement and all of that. And yeah, Sound of Metal doesn't really have that. It's not that it's not a well-edited movie, it's a perfectly edited movie. And I think a win for it would be wonderful, just to give us an example of something other than, most editing wins or most cinematography wins or most sound. I can appreciate, and I want more of, voting in categories like this to be a little more thoughtful instead of so lazy, because it is really lazy sometimes that most equals best. So
yeah, I think so. Do you think there's anything else that could win? Because I think just because it's so close, I could see Nomadland maybe squeezing in. The Father would be like a shock, but maybe not impossible, because I think that it's easy to see it in that category and go like, oh yeah, like the editing did play into the narrative in a really artful way. Or I don't really see Promising Young Woman winning, but
if I keep my rankings the same as my last Frontrunner Friday, it's Sound of Metal, Nomadland, Trial, The Father, Promising Young Woman. And I think Nomadland is much closer to winning than not, I guess.
That would be a good pick.
I think it's really
I may have to factor that in, as a possibility. Yeah.
Because I have for a while now, I've really been floating the possibility that Nomadland can absolutely sweep all 6 of its nominations.
That'd be huge.
It would be huge. We haven't had
in this
sweep.
Day and age.
We haven't had a full sweep since Return of the King. And we haven't had more than 4 Oscars since, now I'm forgetting what the last
The
one.
Artist was 5.
Yeah.
And then 6 would have been Hurt Locker, I think.
And 6 is Hurt Locker. So I think it's there. I think it's absolutely right at the door of that. And we'll maybe kind of get into that, obviously, when we talked about actress and adapted screenplay, but I think it's there. If any year that it could happen, it would be this year.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Original screenplay. We have Judas and the Black Messiah, Sound of Metal, Minari, Trial of Chicago 7, and Promising Young Woman. Promising Young Woman has BAFTA, BFCA, and Writers Guild. Trial has Golden Globes because they love Aaron Sorkin. And that's it. Nobody else has won anything.
Yeah, you just made the argument for me.
Yep. Promising Young Woman.
I know there's a lot of people that are trying to make the case for Trial in like multiple categories. And, best of luck to you for doing that. But nope.
How crazy will it be if it doesn't win a single thing? That would just be fascinating. Maybe some people weren't thinking it was going to do well at all, but we were like some of the people who were saying, this is a front runner for Best Picture. So,
and it was back and forth, I think, between Nomadland and Trial for basically the entire season. Once it seemed clear that Mank was not going to be really a part of that conversation. But in order for that to happen, Trial would have had to do something somewhere, and it hasn't.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing it did was the SAG award. I think it could win screenplay, but I would not go near predicting it. But I still think there's a possibility.
I think it's crazy not to have it at number 2. That's a safe bet. But I would be shocked.
Yeah.
And it would need it. It would need this to win Best Picture.
Yep. Yeah. If it doesn't win this, then there's no chance that it wins.
I'll say this: if we are, going through the Oscars and we get to original screenplay and say it's, somewhere around the middle of the show and Trial were to win, I would be scrambling for a last
Green Book
minute
flashbacks.
Yeah,
Green Book flashbacks.
I would be. I'd be like, you know what?
Yeah,
and if it went editing on top of that, oh boy,
Obviously.
that would give it.
Then we'd be really nervous. Yep.
Yeah. Well, that.
Yeah, I really want. I think Nomadland is just the film that should be prevailing this year. I like that it's winning everything. It's also just more of like the kind of indie that we should celebrate, and that the Oscars ended up celebrating with their nominations. And Trial just doesn't seem to like fit the year as well as Nomadland.
Not as much as it thinks or thought that it was going to.
Yeah, it thought it was going to be relevant, especially when it came out. I mean, it was. Yeah. But yeah, it's kind of interesting how that turned out.
Yeah. But yeah, this is, even if this is the only thing that it wins, this Promising Young Woman winning original screenplay, this falls right into the exact kind of things that win original screenplay.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and she managed to get a Best Director nomination, which Aaron Sorkin did not. So,
yeah,
that's that.
That's a good point.
Let's go to adapted screenplay, which I think a lot of people feel is extremely contentious, and understandably so. We have The White Tiger, we have One Night in Miami, we have Borat's subsequent movie film, The Father, and Nomadland. And as we just saw from BAFTA this weekend, The Father was able to beat Nomadland there. It was Writers Guild ineligible, so it wasn't there, but so was Nomadland, so there was no competition with it there. They did not compete at the USC because only Nomadland was nominated. So they haven't had really a lot of great chances to have a major competition other than BAFTA, really. So do you think that the BAFTA win is enough to give The Father maybe its only win and helping and spread the wealth a bit?
I think it's possible. I think it opens the door a little bit, but I'm still going to predict Nomadland because I see that just doing very strongly, and I can just see them giving them its screenplay because I like it so much. But The Father is from, famous playwright Florian Zeller, and that it does matter that they like the film a lot, and it has a really great script. And it was a play that was cinematic. So it would be a great win too. But I do think they'll go with Nomadland just because. That's kind of my thing. Yeah. I think it would have won WGA too, though. Like it definitely would have won that if it was there. So
yes. Sorry.
Most
Borat,
likely.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think Borat's going to win the Oscar because of that.
No.
Yeah, The Father could pull it off, but I think Nomadland just, it originally didn't seem like the kind of movie that could win screenplay, but the critics groups didn't care, and not many other bodies seem to care too much about that.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yeah. It's, it's also going to give us 2 female screenwriter winners in the same year, which I don't think ever happened. And we
It's-
did,
yeah.
go that 1 year without or period without a female screenwriting winner last decade for the first time since the 60s. So
Mhm.
this will be a really great way to rectify that mistake.
Yeah, I think it was that in 2007, women won in both categories, but they also won like, co-writing with men. So this is going to be the first year that only women are winning the screenplay awards.
Yes, and I think it's an important distinction to make, and I hope people do when they write about and talk about what they talk about, because it is a really important distinction to make, especially when, harking back to Little Miss Sunshine and how Valerie Ferris got in some places and not others. But yeah, it's an important distinction to make. So please do it. Anybody that talks about it, please do it. Yeah, I'm predicting Nomadland to win here as well. So cross another one off for that on the way to a sweep, maybe a sweep. Hopefully, a sweep. We'll see. Okay, we're getting into like big categories, and now I'm starting to freak out because
Now's the time.
now is the time. I'm not going to be able to edit this later. I just have to do it. All right, actually, I feel pretty good about this. We're going to go to supporting actors. And we have Amanda Seyfried, Glenn Close, Olivia Colman, Maria Bakalova, and Yoo Jung-yeon. So I think she's winning.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think it's over in a
I
weird
think
way.
I
I'm
think
like
it was
so
over
confident
at
about it.
SAG, but BAFTA just like was
It made it really over.
beautiful icing on a really beautiful cake.
Yeah, I mean, we had a crazy ride with the Golden Globes not even nominating Yoo Jung-yoon, and then the Critics' Choice not going with Yoo Jung-yoon. We were all freaking out. And then when the SAG gave it to her, it was the perfect path to the Oscar. And then the BAFTAs really cleaned everything up. So I think that's going to happen, and it's not going to be I'm not going to be scared. Actually, I'm really not.
I'm not at all.
It's great.
I'm not at all.
I think it's going to happen. And even if the 3 or 4 early ballots, if we can go off them, like they were pretty hot on Yoo Jung too. So I mean, I think it's happening.
And this is very clearly the best and probably only place that Minari will be represented with a win as Best Picture nominee. So
Yeah,
it's an easy choice. And she's awesome. She is the best. So.
Great winner.
Yeah. Oh
Great
my God, her
winner.
BAFTA speech was hilarious.
It's so legendary, and I hope. I mean, I was obviously reading what people were responding to. I hope they were recognizing her sense of humor about it, because you had
I think
you had to be really careful about how the headlines were parsing it.
I was going to say it was
because
the
some of them
headlines.
were trying to make it sound like it was something that it wasn't. And
Yeah.
if you are the type of person that only reads a headline and not an article, or watch the speech itself, that could come across as very different than intended. And it was a lot of fun.
That was like a malicious headline.
It was, and there's a few that did that, while completely eliminating the fact that she opened with the condolences for Prince Philip, and was the only person of all of the winners to do that.
Yeah, it was very not a problem.
No,
you
it was not.
watch it.
And it was fucking hilarious. It was
Yeah.
so damn funny. And I love that. I loved that, we're seeing, because she's been able to give speeches and do things now, we're seeing who she is outside of her role in the film. And I hope, yeah, I'm just happy for her.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm happy.
Yeah, and there's also Asian people winning acting awards, very, very rare.
Yeah.
Up until now, I think that I really hope that repeats this decade. I mean, that would be really sad if that, sometimes we get excited about things and then things don't feel like they change very fast. But I think there's a trend with the past few years, Asian-led casts doing very well and being very good. So I think we'll see more of that, which is great.
I think so too. And what I think that we're seeing is that it's actually Green Book that's going to end up being the anomaly this period, rather than, Moonlight being the anomaly or Parasite being the anomaly. Those are going to become regular.
I agree.
Instead of the other way around, which is great too. I was having a conversation with somebody about Oscar bait and what that meant. And we're going to have to really, any of us that do this, recalibrate what we define as Oscar bait, or at least, add the addendum of what Oscar bait used to be, because it is ever changing, and it's really changing now.
Yeah,
So,
I was trying to explain what Oscar bait was and how Oscar bait is becoming like a negative kind of label.
it is. It's
Darkest
very
Hour,
negative.
I feel like Darkest Hour almost didn't get nominated, right? Like you look back at and then News of the World didn't get nominated.
Yeah.
One Night in Miami and Ma Rainey, I also think, they are Oscar bait. I'm not saying they're not good. It's not like a dunk on them. I think they're really good films, but they are Oscar bait, and those didn't get nominated. So it's kind of
biopics are almost inherently already Oscar bait.
Yeah.
They just kind of are.
So it's totally changing.
Yeah, and what they nominated over that, like The Father and Sound of Metal, are, aside from maybe performances, not really Oscar bait movies at all.
Yeah. And so I think that's moving forward. I hope that that's what all of us are able to do, and that is to properly evaluate and identify what Oscar bait means, so that, we don't lose track of the momentum that's happening right now.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think in part there's probably some influence of, the Academy added like a lot of members, right? Like 1,000 members a year for the past 2 years or something close to that. That's a huge chunk of the Academy that's influencing like the outcomes of all these awards. So
it is, but I don't know if you read, and if not, I will link this to you guys later. The analysis that his name is Walter Hickey did, that he's been doing since the increase in membership turned, from like 200 or 300 a year to 700, 800, 900 per year, and where those numbers were coming from. Because while the membership base has increased exponentially, the smallest increase came with the acting branch, who was the largest. The huge increases came with like visual effects, sound, documentary, all of these other groups. And that's where you're going to see change, not from the actors anymore. I think the acting branch grew by like 16% over the last 5 years, which is a really small amount when you look at 4-something thousand that have been added over the last 5 years, which I did not really realize.
That's really interesting.
I wasn't paying a whole lot of attention the way that I should have. When the invitation lists come in, and you're like, oh, cool, this person, and you kind of hyper focus on the actors and, this actor from television and this veteran actor, how have they never been asked before? And then you kind of lose track of the fact that these huge numbers are coming in from these below the line categories, and that's where change is going to really happen in the future. But yeah, hopefully it just means more Asian actors nominated and winning.
yeah.
Supporting actor, boy, what an absolute lockjaw, locked safe type category.
Yeah, this is one of the most locked of the night.
Yeah, it might be the most, even more than.
Yeah, you can make.
There's one that I think is more locked that we haven't gotten to yet. It's pretty obvious.
Well, okay, yeah. There's probably 3. There's
one
like
more.
this.
No, this might be number 2.
This
might be the second most locked.
Director, yeah. There's
animated, yeah. Director
there's-
is like the one though for me.
Yeah.
That's like she's gonna get like 90% of the vote. There's something. I don't know about that, but it's something crazy. Something crazy.
Anyways,
yeah.
For supporting actor, we've got Daniel Kaluuya, Sacha Baron Cohen, Leslie Odom Jr., Paul Raci, and Lakeith Stanfield. Still one of the craziest, wildest nominations in all of my years of doing this.
Yeah. Happy to be alive for it.
It was awesome. It was incredible.
Great category too. In
Yeah.
a time where I was kind of worried that some people would get in that I didn't think deserved it. and it turned out to be awesome. They found, you know, a great fifth slot with Lakeith Stanfield.
I mean, category fraud aside, it's a performance. It's like really great. So I guess that's
yeah,
good.
I love that they're both nominated.
Fraud is weird.
It kept us from having to have Jared Leto, so it's really like the greatest category of all 23 by doing that. Yay. But yes, this has been a fascinating category to watch because obviously Paul Raci was critics frontrunner for so long because Judas hadn't come out yet. We didn't know what really was going to happen with it. So he was kind of running away, at least with that. But even through all that, even getting a nomination was going to be difficult for him because he didn't get SAG, he didn't get Golden Globe. But it didn't really matter once Judas came out, and it was seen because the rise of Daniel Kaluuya was so fast and just an absolute freight train, and just destroyed his lead with critics, and then obviously with every single precursor to this point. So,
yep, it's Daniel Kaluuya.
This is one where I think that the space between 1 and 2 is so huge that
vast.
Yep. I don't even know who's number 2. I honestly have no idea.
Maybe it's Sacha Baron Cohen. Maybe it's Leslie Odom Jr.
Yep.
It doesn't matter that
Maybe
much.
It's Paul Raci. Who knows?
Maybe
it's Lakeith Stanfield.
Wouldn't that be hilarious?
It could be anybody at number 2, but there's a clear number 1. Yeah.
It could be anybody or it could be nobody because it doesn't matter.
Yeah. I mean, everybody loves Daniel Kaluuya, so I think he's just so well loved. It's going to be easy for people to want to give him the Oscar.
Yeah, I think so too. And yeah, category fraud aside, no matter who you thought, you know, maybe should have been the lead of this versus supporting, I do not care.
Yep.
Daniel Kaluuya is going to have an Oscar, and I'm very happy about that.
Yeah, it's good outcome.
Let's do Best Actor, because while it's obviously not as locked as supporting actor, I want to wait to talk about Best Actress. So Best Actor: Gary Oldman, Steven Yeun, Riz Ahmed, Anthony Hopkins, Chadwick Boseman. The Boseman train was doing really, really, really well until BAFTA.
I also think until The Father came out and people saw it, and then BAFTA came, and it did reflect that.
There is a great argument for the extremely late release of The Father because it was able to capitalize.
Extremely, the latest Oscar release ever, maybe.
I mean, really, it was just
literally
knocking on the door of eligibility there, and that's going to benefit it, and it has, because it missed out on so many guilds that it ended up getting in at the Oscars, like the film editing and production design, which is super cool. But I know some people want races to be more competitive than they are because they get tired and bored of, you know, knowing what's going to win. And the BAFTA win for Hopkins here was more than enough food to fuel so many conversations and predictions that I'm seeing now for an upset possibility, and going, this is like Olivia Colman, and I don't know. I don't think so. I'm not going to budge from Boseman.
Yeah, I'm just like consistently actually predicting Hopkins at this point, but not because I think he has a tremendous lead, because I think I feel so in the middle on it. And I can't help but think that, you know, I make the argument to myself that if enough people are saying, you know, if enough people are saying, I love Chadwick Boseman, but it's not the best performance of the year, then does he win the Oscar? Is that enough? And a lot of people, like, it's not enough for a lot of people to give him that, and a lot of people think that. So if that's the case, it's sort of a guess that people think that, but I do think it's likely that that's a lot of people's mindset. And so we might see Hopkins say, because it's such a good performance from Hopkins, it's like maybe his best, that it's difficult to not see it as an Oscar-winning performance. So I think it's a really strong case for Hopkins. I think it's strong enough to beat Boseman. And I think it's close.
Boseman's
I mean, I won't. Yeah, it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be really close. I don't think Hopkins is like a lock by any means. And I mean, but I also, I think it's really close. That's all,
I think
that's all I'm gonna say.
I think it could be a toss up. I don't know who I'm going to end up predicting, but like you probably think it's really funny because it's so locked into you. But I also will factor in that The Father performed as well as it could have with nominations, maybe outside of like director or something. And Ma Rainey underperformed. And, my feeling is that, if you don't like the movie or you think it's like, okay, and you love The Father, you might still feel the performances are nomination worthy, but I think people's love for The Father and their love for Hopkins is very intertwined. And if you like The Father more than Ma Rainey, you may come away thinking Hopkins is the one who earns your vote. But Boseman, obviously, it's his last shot to get an Oscar. And it's similar to any other overdue narrative that has taken place, whether it's like somebody's a veteran who gives a great performance and they need to win. I mean, there's a really strong case for that. And there's also cases where that sort of narrative has been broken. And Boseman's like really, really good in Ma Rainey as well. It's super tough. But I'm just split. I'm split. I don't know where I'm at. I think in the video I said Boseman, but
it's interesting because there are two theories running side by side in favor of Hopkins. One obviously being the BAFTA win, but the other is that sometimes when you think somebody is the front runner, you'll vote for another person because you just feel like they're already getting it. I don't need to add to the pile.
Yeah, that's true
anymore.
too. That's true.
Which was, I think, a big part of the theories around the director race from 2012 and how those happens.
There was an anonymous BAFTA ballot, and the guy said, I know Chadwick Boseman's going to win the category, but he wasn't my favorite performance. So I'm going to vote for, I think he said, Riz Ahmed, whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, some people are probably going to think that.
I think so too. And, we're not pretending that every person that votes at the Oscars or for anything is voting purely on who they think is the best or who they think is going to win, or using
it's like the ultimate test of that idea, that people vote of how people are voting, right?
Everybody uses all kinds of things, and some people let their maids vote for them and don't vote themselves,
And I mean, the reason McDormand's not winning this year is because she is too. Like, that's it to me. If she didn't have an Oscar, she would be winning to me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's of course it matters.
Any Oscars,
of course, there's always like people weighing in different factors. Always, I think.
Yeah.
Although, there has been some of those voters that have been like, I don't care that she has two. That doesn't bother me at all. But we'll get to that.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
We'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah,
but I do think that there is room for Hopkins to upset here.
Yeah.
But if
you're not going to go that far,
if it happens, it's not going to be pretty.
Yeah, that's the other thing. It's like it is like
chaos.
Are the Academy members thinking like, if it doesn't go to Boseman, like there's going to be chaos, and do they care like at all, or
there might be less chaos than you think.
The moment of giving it to Boseman would be very, very nice, like for the Academy to have, like the voters might want to just be like it's like right there. It's like being given to them to have this moment that occurred at other major awards shows like the Golden Globes. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, they just might not want to pass up on it, or I don't know, or Hopkins, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, SAG just went with people of color as winners for the first time ever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they get all four.
And, you know, for the Oscars to kind of pull back from that would be odd. But
Yeah, because there's a
funny.
scenario. Oh, sorry, what?
Go ahead.
Oh, I was saying there's a scenario where, you know, if Hopkins wins, it could be the case that the lead actor winners are white and the supporting winners are of color, and people are going to be like, we're kind of sick of that because that happens all the time.
Yeah,
and
Mhm.
I feel sick of that too. It's definitely like a trend that is upsetting to see black actors winning Oscars but not in lead categories. So that's I mean I feel that too. So.
Yeah, and again, if there is ever a year for that not to happen, this is the year. So
Yeah.
don't spoil it. But no, I was gonna say it was funny watching the BAFTAs, even though I had predicted Boseman to win there. when the In Memoriam came up and he wasn't the last, I knew he was going to lose. It was just this weird feeling. As I was watching, I was like, all other ones, you know, have he's been the last, and that's kind of been sort of the staple of how they're doing it. And he wasn't, and I was like, oh shit, Anthony Hopkins is gonna win, isn't he?
Yeah.
It was just weird. It was just this
Yeah.
kind of silly, weird feeling.
They seem to have a very similar opinion, the BAFTAs, about those two films. Like, I think if there were no jury, we probably would have had Viola Davis in.
Yeah.
And what was the other category that Ma Rainey got that it didn't get at the BAFTAs for a nomination? I'm blanking.
That's it.
No, it got 5
It
nominations
got
at
everything.
the
You got
Oscars.
production design.
Oh, it didn't get production design at the BAFTAs.
It didn't. Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, I guess those movies, you know, the Oscars like the fathers as much as the BAFTAs, and the BAFTAs were a little more, I guess, I don't know if you would want to say lukewarm, but a little less crazy about Ma Rainey as other awards bodies have been.
Yeah. We're gonna skip over Best Actress for now and go to director.
Just to save the goods for last.
Yeah, because this is a pretty
and director.
Yeah.
My pick for the most obvious category of the night.
Yeah. It is.
It's just as, I mean, yeah, it's just as obvious as anything you can come up with.
It's great.
So Chloe Zhao winning the Oscar.
I'm still in shock of how many people were trying to be like, but maybe David Fincher can win DGA.
Yeah.
It was like blowing my mind that people were constantly trying to do that, and it's.
After the Globes, I stopped doing that, but I did do it for the Globes. I was like, oh, Fincher, what if Fincher?
I thought Fincher might take only the Globe and nothing else. I wasn't convinced he'd take DGA, even if he won the Globe, but I mean, it's overwhelmingly obvious. Yeah. And I even saw one of the anonymous ballots or whatever was like, yeah, I thought Nomadland was okay, but Chloe Zhao still deserves director.
Exactly.
Which is crazy that people are saying such a thing, but like, I mean,
yeah. Even if you don't like the movie, that's when you're winning. Even if you don't like it and you can admit that it needs to win, that's when, that's when you
crazy
sweep.
though.
That's what a sweep is.
It's so crazy. It's like someone that's never seen a Chloe Zhao movie would be saying that. It's just weird because that's just the movies that she makes. That's how she makes them.
Yep.
I really love that she's winning.
For the sake of argument, who is number 2?
That's the problem. If you don't know who number 2 is, then you know that someone's out front.
I think it would have been. I mean, I don't know. It's really hard to tell. I think Fincher would have won some awards if she wasn't in this category. The question is, what the hell would happen if Nomadland didn't exist this award season? It's like the picture and director categories would be freaking insane. And Fincher would probably win some, but he might not win all. And it's like, who else would win director? You know, if we got sick of giving it to Fincher because people kind of got tired of Mank, what would happen? But maybe he would win everywhere. I'm not sure. Picture would be the real, like, what the hell would happen if Nomadland didn't exist? But I think I would go with Fincher for now as number 2.
I maybe could get down with saying Fennell is number 2.
Fennell is my number 2.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. Maybe number 3 for me, but sure.
She got everything she needed to.
Yeah, she did. She did very, very well.
Except for BAFTA, but still. That's a crazy year.
Yep.
All right. Oh my God. Let's talk about Best Actress. let's talk about Best Actress, which again, in my lifetime, I'm thrilled, at least for, as a viewer and not a participant, because I would hate to be a participant in a year like this in this category. We have a different winner for all the precursors. So we then have to decide which precursor matters more, who has the right momentum, who's in the stronger film, if that's even important. And we have Vanessa Kirby, who is fifth, and there's no argument about that.
Yeah.
Then we have Carey Mulligan, Frances McDormand, Andra Day, and Viola Davis. So the breakdown goes: Davis won SAG, Day won Golden Globe, McDormand won BAFTA, and Mulligan won Critics' Choice. All with obvious varying degrees of importance, impact, history, even with the exceptional year that BAFTA is. I think McDormand winning BAFTA was not a surprise. Only her and Kirby were nominated from this group, and Kirby was not going to win.
And then a lot of people speculate if they nominated the usual lineup, Mulligan and Davis, that it would have been Mulligan or just not Frances McDormand. So that actually might count the least towards, in the importance of precursors. I would never write off her winning the Oscar though, because Nomadland's very strong and she's amazing in the movie. But I think if you're going to go off of, what's the strongest, that precursor is the hardest one to say it's going to matter this year. But I don't write her off as being impossible to win. I think she's, but we're actually decidedly going with Mulligan right now.
Both of you?
Yeah, it's not by a lot,
And it's not because I think the Critics' Choice is necessarily more important than other awards. But I mean, I want to know where you factor this in, because in the scenario where Mulligan wins BAFTA, like if that happened, I do think she'd be people's overwhelming pick. And I think that might have happened. Also,
doesn't mean she would still win.
It doesn't necessarily mean that, but I also think my second place, the only other person who I'd consider it is Viola Davis, who there's a strong narrative that she should win a lead actress Oscar, and I don't disagree. And
I agree. She
gives a very obvious like transformation type performance. The SAG is nothing to dismiss. But it's, you could also wonder, like, what if that's just like, I mean, it's clear the SAGs love her. They've given her more awards than the Oscars. And like, what if that's just like that body? Also, Ma Rainey being a little less of a, movie that's just loved in other categories as Promising Young Woman, maybe. It's tough because, and also, I mean, Viola Davis also is not like, I don't think she has as strong of like a sort of character arc type of role as other.
Viola Davis's only problem is that's her only problem.
Yeah, if the movie was just like a biopic,
the true lead, and if she did, it would be the easiest.
Yeah,
choice.
if it was a generic biopic where she like, it goes from like her in her 20s to like dying on like a hospital bed, like she would have won the Oscar.
The weird thing is that she like the performance, all the choices she made.
Day.
That's Andra Day. Yeah, but with David, it's like she made all the right choices, and we know she's capable of giving. Like if this was about that character and only that character, like she would have given a phenomenal. She would have given the Oscar-worthy performance. She would have given the performance of the year. And all of her choices were there. It's just that she doesn't have enough screen time. So in a way, it's like we know she's talented enough to like have this Oscar. We know the performance was like well done enough, but it's it's just harder. I don't know.
Which is not
screen
always
time
factor,
matters is kind of the thing.
You could also say
it matters
Olivia
if you
Colman,
cry, and it matters if you have
Colman
that scene.
One without screenplay. I mean, without Olivia Colman won without that much screen time. Frances McDormand in Fargo even like she didn't dominate the movie.
Yeah, I think Davis could definitely win too. That's probably number two. It's definitely number two.
Well, I think you make a really good point about arc, especially with this lineup, because 4 of the 5 have very distinct arcs in their films and stories and time periods where Davis does not really have that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it's just because it's such a short time period, but there isn't really there just isn't much of an arc, and that's not a complaint. She's fantastic, and she's
Yeah.
boisterous and bullyish, and she's great. But she doesn't have quite the same lengths to overcome to get to the end, which I think might work against her, but only ever so slightly.
Right.
And
yeah.
as far as screen time goes, Frances McDormand was in Fargo less than Davis was in Ma Rainey. So
Yeah.
it's you can hem and haw all over the place about her screen time, or if you think that she's supporting, or that crazy anonymous voter who thinks that Chadwick Boseman is supporting.
Oh my God.
That's what you're dealing with though when you're dealing with some voters that just that's where they are. I am absolutely torn on this race because there is a valid argument for 4 of these women to win.
Yep.
Precursors or not. McDormand and Mulligan are obviously in the strongest films. McDormand's in the one that's going to win Best Picture. And if she were to win, it'll be the first that does for her, because she was not in Best Picture winners before. Last time was really close. She was in the number 2. The Golden Globe stat for Andra Day is really good, but she doesn't have anything else to back it up. And that's only a good stat because all the other women in this category had the other precursors to back it up. So
that's what I'm saying.
If you're falling on Day as a winner because of Golden Globe, which I know some people on Twitter are, you're doing it wrong, because it's all that she has. She has the BFCA nomination, but they have 6 nominees. So.
And McDormand and Mulligan were leading Critics Awards, really. And
they were like this.
And Davis didn't really take that many. She had maybe a couple.
Yeah, she had some, but not nearly as much.
Do you think Andra Day has a good case, or you're kind of dismissing that? Like that would be number 4 for you?
I don't know if she's number 3 or 4 yet for me. I'm
okay, 3 or 4 though. Yeah.
Yeah, I was toying with her. I mean, 2 weeks ago I had her at number 2, because I do think that we are in a year of narratives that is very different and exceptional compared to years past, and they will have real impact and importance. I think there's a total logical argument that Davis and Day are competing to win. It's the first time in 50 years that we've had 2 Black actresses nominated in Best Actress, and only the second time ever. And of course, the connection also that first time was Diana Ross playing Billie Holiday. And as well as, and I'll just say this, you have a light-skinned Black woman and a dark-skinned Black woman both competing, just like in 1972 as well. And I don't think you can have a conversation about awards wins like this without including elements of colorism that happen with people's choices. Unless you're Viola Davis, who is the Viola Davis of acting. She's not the Meryl Streep of something. She's the Viola Davis. She is the bar. Everybody else is trying to reach the bar. She is the bar. She gives great speeches, even if they're really weird and creepy and bizarre, but great speeches. She is generous, and everybody wants to work with her. And so I think she has such an amazing case to win here. Then we go up against the 2 lead acting wins coming from a film that's not Best Picture nominated. That's never happened before. But again, we are in a year where stats and history are going to absolutely fall all over the place. So if
Yeah.
I'm holding on to her not winning because of that stat, that's a mistake. Because there's no one stat that's going to provide the answer here. No matter who wins, it's going to be illogical to go, well, this is the reason why, because of
Yeah.
Golden Globe. That's not the reason why. There's no one reason here. This is a collective event that is happening in this category, which is why it's super exciting, which is why it's going to be passion-based, which is why it's going to be narrative-based and performance-based. It's going to be all of those things together. I haven't even mentioned Carey Mulligan.
Yeah.
Talk about a transformative performance. It is too, completely, both for her as an actor, in terms of things that we've seen her in before, but just as a role and performance. It's why Fennell's winning screenplay, because it is so fucking gutsy to do what she does with this character and how it ends. It's so gutsy. And the case for Mulligan winning is outstanding too, because she'll have that screenplay win as well, because she's in a Best Picture, Best Director nominated film. She has a fantastic argument to win.
And her first Oscar.
Yeah, McDormand still has a great argument to win, third or not. She'll beat Meryl Streep if she wins.
Yeah.
Be super awesome.
Wow.
And be on her way to be Katharine Hepburn instead. And it was great. I was doing I don't think it was a podcast, I think it was just a conversation. And Nathaniel Rogers was on and referred to Frances McDormand as like the Katharine Hepburn of this era. And there is not a more true statement than that, because McDormand is the person that hates all of this. She wouldn't even go on a Zoom, which is so fucking baller. I love that.
Yeah.
And neither would Hepburn. So there is an argument for all four of them. And I need to make a choice for this podcast, at least, even if it's different than what
There's
I
no
end up
wrong choice.
writing about.
There's one wrong choice.
I think it will be Davis.
Yeah, I could see that you're leaning that way, and you definitely made a really good case that makes me want to say Davis too. Like and if I'm thinking about how I would vote too, like I probably, I think Davis's performance is just as good as anyone's. I probably wouldn't vote for Carey Mulligan's, because even though I love that film, it's not my favorite. Like, and I would love to see Davis win a second Oscar, and I agree with what you said. Like, she is Viola Davis, and she doesn't have a leading actress Oscar, and it's about time in a way. Like, it's about time and Black actress got a leading actress Oscar, and she's just like, she's one of the best. She and Frances McDormand in this category, like these are like, they're just like the best. So yeah, I mean, it's funny because I wouldn't even like, I would pick her or McDormand over Mulligan personally. It's just like, yeah, it would be such a great win. Any of them would be great wins. But yeah, I think Davis is so close for me though, and I like how you laid that out. So yeah, you should go with that. You don't want to. It wouldn't be natural if we all said the same thing in this podcast.
And I think I probably will once I do, drop those best actress predictions next week. But I look at it from all of those things, all of those reasons, and I am really kind of throwing most of the precursor stuff out the window because they're not showing us.
What else are you gonna do?
Yeah,
you can't base it on precursors alone.
Yeah, not in this category.
Not enough information. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're gonna get something else, and one of the great things too is that whoever wins, it's gonna be a great win. So
yeah, I think it'd be like, I can imagine McDormand, Davis, Mulligan like all winning and it being like really triumphant for each for any of them. So it is, and the arguments on Davis are convincing. I don't know. It's almost like you're just trying to like close your eyes and like look at the future. It's the only way I can imagine doing it, where it's like, but what's like going to happen? Like what is, I don't know.
Yeah, this is what's going to be really fun Sunday night and Monday morning is talking about all of this.
Yeah. And I also do dread, like you were kind of saying this, the hindsight that people are going to think that they had about, like, of course that this person won
they had
because
some golden
this and this.
ticket. Yeah.
And that's not
When it could have been by a few, like 100 votes or something small.
Yeah, I mean, you can do that with a lot of categories, but you cannot do this with Best Actress. And anybody that tries to do that after the Oscars, I will absolutely destroy them.
And in split races in the past where precursors have really varied and gone different ways, like from the few cases where that has happened, it's not like there's one where it's like they always side with like one of them. It's very random. So I don't think, the precursors weigh out that much over each other either.
Yeah, and it's the most exciting race of the night, and I cannot wait to see what happens. So I'm pretty stoked about that. Yeah. All right, well, we're going to close with Best Picture, which is probably going to be a short conversation, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Because you guys are losing your light and you're going to be in the dark like really, really soon.
We also have lights that we could turn on.
More light.
We could turn on the lights.
See,
no,
go.
We're gonna wrap it up because it's Nomadland.
Yes, exactly. Nomadland is winning.
What are you gonna do? What else would it be?
Yeah.
Unless Trial gets editing and screenplay, we're not going to scream. We're not going to get upset. It's not going to be weird.
Minari doesn't have a case because it can't win screenplay. I mean, if Minari did win screenplay, I guess it'd be like, whoa. But yeah, I don't think anything else. I mean, Promising Young Woman could win screenplay and maybe actress. But again, it's like Nomadland is still going to win director and cinematography
and maybe, yeah.
Which is why, I mean, Promising Young Woman is ahead of Minari easily, and I think it's kind of crazy to. I mean, I've seen that too. I've seen somebody wrote an article like, but wait, maybe it's Minari that's the secret upset. It's like why?
Yeah, that's been going on for a while.
Why are you doing this?
I've seen a lot of that.
There are great categories to have outstanding conversations and articles about that are competitive and interesting. Why try and do it with something that's just let it lie, let it happen.
Yeah.
It's
we're
done.
not used to it. In the past 5 or so years, we've had an upset, or we've had people torn like right down the middle. So I understand, like, this has never happened. This hasn't happened since I got like into the Oscars in the in the Argo or the Artist days at the King's Speech. Like, it is just, or not the King's Speech even.
12 Years a Slave.
Yeah, 12 Years a Slave, really. So it's just, we're not used to it right now.
Yeah,
that's why everyone's freaking out. Because it doesn't feel normal, but it's like, hey, this could happen this year, this could happen next year, but like, so it's happening this year, I think.
Every year is its own. Next year is going to look completely different than this, and we'll use different reasonings for things to happen.
So, exactly.
This is its own animal, and Nomadland has everything: PGA, Critics' Choice, Golden Globe, BAFTA. That's it. And it's okay that that's it.
Yep.
Period.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, even La La Land, like that, I probably felt about as confident as I do about Nomadland winning as I did about La La Land winning. But at the same time, Moonlight,
you could speculate
was like
on number two, though.
Moonlight was kind of a definitive number two. I don't even know if there's.
And you had a movie that was winning screenplay that you could see winning picture.
Yeah.
Here's the argument that I have made every time somebody tries to bring some whataboutism into this conversation with Best Picture, and that is that Nomadland is the Moonlight. It was
exactly
It's already the indie that actually subverts expectations and wins. In order for us to have a La La Land Moonlight kind of thing, or Roma Green Book, whatever it is, Trial would have to have already been the front runner, one PGA, one Writers Guild,
at least the Golden Globe,
and been already in that place to be upset. Nomadland isn't the film that gets upset; it's the film that upsets. I will live and die on that hill, because that's how it's happened historically. It's the smaller film that upsets, not the bigger film.
Yeah,
except when it was Green Book Roma. Yeah, but like you just said, it's because it won PGA and gold. It's like it won that stuff. It won screenplay too.
Yeah,
you can't just go in here and upset Nomadland without a screenplay or without any precursor. I guess we won't know this until next year, but I feel like if we didn't have the pandemic delay movies, Nomadland would have been that movie that
could upset the bigger movie.
And maybe next year we'll figure out what that bigger movie is. Or
absolutely,
this whole year is a different beast because of the pandemic too. It just really shaped everything.
This year, it'd be like, Dune and West Side Story and a lot of these really big films. And yes, Nomadland would be fighting harder for a spot there. It would still probably be the critics' hit, but it would be the Moonlight. It would be having to fight harder to get that. And I still think Chloe Zhao would win, no matter what. If there was no pandemic, true. I think she'd still would be winning this year.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I think that's probably true.
Yeah. So that's that. Let me ask you guys, what is the win that you want to see most, even if it's something that is pretty locked to happen?
I am excited about Yoo Jung-yoon's win. I think it's going to be fun. I want to know what she says. She's funny, so her speech is going to be good.
I don't really have a good answer for that question. Like, I'll be happy for whoever wins, and they're all good. Like, that's kind of, I don't know. I almost never think about that. Yeah.
Justin, you're such a Pollyanna. What the hell kind of answer is that?
Like, I love that Daniel Kaluuya is winning, but it's so obvious that it doesn't like give me, it doesn't get me excited anymore. So
I hear you. I'm with Cole. Yoo Jung-yoon is
that's definitely one of them.
That's going to be my favorite when and if it happens. So I can't wait. But also too, every time that Chloe Zhao has made a speech, or even when she loses, she's just one of the most interesting and thoughtful people. And I think her speeches, however many she gets to give, are going to be wonderful and really, really thoughtful. I mean, she took time to have something for every single director to say at the TGA, and I just thought that I was just like,
yeah, I love that. That was really nice.
Again,
I'm just thinking now, like,
beautiful.
We got a really good, like, we're gonna have a really good slate of winners on our hand. I think every acting, like all the front runners, like whoever wins, like we're gonna have some great winners.
This is the opposite of the Green Book Bohemian Rhapsody year.
yeah, it is.
And hopefully
there's a lot of good faith.
Make up for that. Yes.
Yeah.
All right, boys. Well, let's have you tell everybody where they can find you and what you have coming up.
You can find us on YouTube is the main place, at the Oscar Expert on YouTube. We're both on Twitter. I am expert_Oscar and he is with Brother Bro. Upcoming is, you can find our predictions, which you may not need to watch anymore if you're here in the podcast.
But you'll find our reactions.
Yeah,
that's the important thing.
Yeah, the reactions are really good, and we're going to live stream during the Oscars, and also do a separate reaction video that has like fun editing. So you won't want to miss that.
Awesome, cool. Yeah, I just got asked to do the Rotten Tomatoes Twitter Spaces chat on Oscar night, so it's going to be immediately after the show, and I've already warned them. I cannot promise what my sobriety level will be at the time, so it might be some very live, hilarious, crazy, drunken reactions. So definitely try and clue into that when that's around, and I will send that link out. But yes, you can obviously find me at awardswatch.com, awards_watch on Twitter, and then awardswatch on Instagram. And like I said, this is being recorded the 15th of April, the first day of Oscar voting, which goes to the 20th. So I've got prediction pieces coming out every day all the way through Friday. What is it? Friday the 23rd. And what do we have coming up? We have ASC, we have ACE and Spirit Awards. So we're not done yet, but we're really, really close. Thanks a lot, guys. I really appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having us.
Always anything with Eric. Bye.
Bye.
Tell me your stories of giants and dragons.
You're a wolf walker. And being a wolf is way better. Be a wolf. Close your eyes. You don't need your eyes to see. There's 2 of us now.
Wolfwalkers, rated PG. Exclusively on Apple TV+.